We are good. Live. Good, Nanda. So I think all of them are there today.
One more minute.
Rohit is there. Yeah, perfect. Okay, shall we start, Nanda? Are we on the dot? A minute more, I guess.
About 1 more minute.
1 more minute, okay.
Yes, 7.
Nanda, I have a request when your announcement, if you can ask these rotractors and interactors to introduce themselves. I can see quite a few new names, so I don't know who are they actually.
Yes, Gargi, I would be doing that when we are welcoming them. We'll ask them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock now, Samir.
We'll start.
Yeah, I think we should.
Right? We are okay. I think before we formally start the meeting, two requests to everybody, please mute your microphones and only unmute when you have to speak. Number one, and please switch on your cameras so that we can see you live during the meeting. I don't have the gong, but I call the 28th meeting of RCBC to order. Let us begin the day with a minute of silent prayer. I request everybody to pray silently for the next 1 minute. Yeah, thank you. First of all, a very special welcome to our guest speaker for the day, Air Marshal Kukreja. So thank you very much for joining us today. A very warm welcome to the entire RCBC Parivar, Rotarians, aunts and spouses. Do we have any guests here, Rotarian guests? I think we have Madhu here. She's anyway a prospective member who is joining us in the next week. Do I see any other guests? I think. Okay, apart from guests, I think we are having the rotractors and interactors present. Can I request each of them to quickly take a second each and just switch on your microphones and introduce yourself? All the rotractors and interactors one by one quickly, so that we can see you that you are here and we can welcome you today.
Morning, sir.
Okay, great. Sharad, then?
I am Yashwant, sir.
Yashwant, good, great. Welcome, Yashwant.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I think we also have Kyle joining us. She's also joining our club the next week. I just saw her on the screen. Welcome,
Yes,
Kyle, for the day. Now, before I go on to the next this one, I have two important announcements for the day, which in spite of the COVID all around us, I think the club members have been pretty active. A lot of activities happening. The Vocational Service Committee has commenced the online career counseling sessions today. I think all our interactors are participating in that. Apart from that, the Young Achievers Award, the core committee is working on the modalities. The award is being sponsored by Concept Ambience, the same company which sponsored Golfity for us, and the event is being scaled up to a large-scale public award this year, covering Rotary's 7 focus areas. Please wait for the details from the Youth Service Committee. I will let the committee share more the details with you. And now I hand you over to Rotarian Nanda for the secretary announcements.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, as the president-elect just now mentioned, the pandemic outburst and the government restrictions have really played havoc with a lot of our planned new projects. Many of them have actually been postponed and are waiting for better times to come. In fact, our president is not well today, and so he's also not been able to attend the meeting, and the president-elect is presiding over the meeting today. But as far as some of the ongoing projects like the maternal child health welfare, the medical checkup at the rural medical center at Bidadi, etc., are being carried out. And so also, as just mentioned now, the Vocational Services Committee launched their online career counseling session today. And that was for the students of the Rotary School in Chennapatna. 26 students attended that session. 2 more similar sessions are planned for the students of Mahila Seva Samaj, the Little Angels Modern High School, and the Guru Harkishan High School. And these are planned for the 18th and 29th of this month. And therefore, and similarly, regarding the activities of committees, the International Services Committee and the Club Services Committee had their meetings on the online platform on the 8th of January. And then coming to the birthdays and anniversaries, there are no Rotarians celebrating their birthday this coming week. But we have a few Anns who are celebrating their birthdays. Megha Carlo celebrates her birthday on the 15th of January. And then Revati Ashok and Asha Ghosh celebrates their birthday on the 16th of January. They both share the same birthday. As for wedding anniversaries, Ramchandran and Nandini celebrate their wedding anniversary on the 18th of January. Wishing all those who are celebrating their birthdays and anniversaries the best of health and happiness in the years to come. Now, going forward to the programs of the forthcoming week, we all know that the recipient of the For the Sake of Honor award has been finalized. It is actually the Bangalore International Airport Limited. And that function was supposed to be held on the 20th of January. It has now been postponed to a date that will be decided when holding a physical meeting will be conducive. There are no committee meetings that have been planned for the coming week. And there is a very interesting meeting which is being organized to the 20th of January, and the details of that meeting will be announced in the next 2 days. That's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. I think we all need Rotary refresher talks every meeting so that some information keeps coming back to us. And I think Rotary and Rohit Karan will give us the Rotary information talk. Rohit, you are here?
Yes, sir.
There you are. Great, Rohit. Go ahead.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Rohit, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just, as usual, I have a small presentation. So let me just share my screen. So can you, all of you, see the presentation? I hope so. Okay, so today's Rotary Information Talk is on sister clubs. It will be quite useful for the new Rotarians as well as the old ones and the guests who have joined us. So very quickly, let's see what is a Rotary Sister Club, what are the characteristics and missions of Rotary Sister Clubs. So sister clubs are two clubs from different countries that form a long-term relationship to promote international goodwill and understanding and carry out service projects in their community. The mission and goals are as follows: to emphasize the international avenue of Rotary service and friendship, to establish a long-term relationship with another club through joint projects, and usually these relationships are for perpetuity, to enhance understanding of another culture, especially that we come from two different countries, an excellent opportunity, and to further international understanding and foster goodwill. Now, what can we look for in sister clubs? So when we look for partners, obviously we speak a common language, but we also share similar interests, challenges, or history. Could be this. It could be that a club that we have worked in the past and we have a good relationship, or the club could be located in a place that matches our club's service interests. And finally, it could be that we learn from each other's experiences and best practices. Now, these are not hard and fast rules, but certain criteria that we can keep in mind when we look for sister clubs. Now, the ideas for developing a strong relationship, it all starts with, of course, once you identify, it starts with formalizing, forging the relationship through an MOU. There are several templates that are there. And how do we strengthen our relationship? Of course, one is to participate in a Rotary Friendship or Youth Exchange program, or we organize a RELA event. We exchange project ideas, and we hold joint video conference club meetings. I've just given two examples of the MOUs that are available. Now, the potential sister clubs this year, to give you factual examples, and there are two ends of the spectrum. So we have Rotary Club of Colombo Mid-City, Sri Lanka, which is a very well-established club in Sri Lanka. We had very good relationship with them for the past 2 decades or more. We've had friendship exchange programs conducted where we have visited them, they visited us. In fact, they were supposed to visit us just before COVID hit us in March 2020. And we've also supported each other's projects in the past. On the other end of the spectrum, we have a very new club, young and dynamic club in Philippines, the Club of Alabang Madrigal Business Park. They're based in Manila. They have a very good dynamic social media presence. It's a very small club, but I've got a glimpse of their potential projects, joint projects that we can do. I've participated in their UNSDG education program and girl empowerment training program. So as you can see here, two examples of quite two different diverse clubs. So there are no real hard and fast rules as long as we are confident to have forged a strong and long relationship with them. So what after the sister club is formed, there's several examples here. We could undertake an international service project, conduct a flag exchange program, organize a friendship exchange, or join in each other's Rotary action groups or fellowship groups, can observe a mutual day to celebrate the partnership. We could exchange a project or club program ideas. And last but not the least, to hold club meetings and video conference meetings with eminent speakers of mutual interest. Yeah, so thanks for listening. With this, I conclude my Rotary information talk. Yeah, thank you.
Can exit this case. Thank you. Rohit, that was very interesting. I think one takeaway I got in that 3 minutes was that we should look at sister clubs with long-term relationships. I think that's only when we'll be able to achieve all the goals what you have listed down there. Thank you very much for that informative talk. Now I think I would like to call the person who knows Air Marshal Kukreja for many years. And when I asked him for an write-up about the chief guest's profile, he said, I can speak without reading it or asking for it. I can speak from my heart. So I think I invite Wing Commander Sabarwal, who knows Air Marshal Kukreja in and out, to introduce the speaker of the day.
Thank you, President. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to formally introduce first time ever since I have known Air Marshal Kukreja 48 years back when he was Flying Officer Kukreja and I was Flying Officer Sabarwal. This 70 years young Air Marshal Kukreja joined NDA National Defense Academy in January 1968. 4.5 years later, he was commissioned as a fighter pilot and he started flying MiGs from June 1972. And after 40 glorious years, he retired as Air Marshal in February 2012. Now, during these 40 years, obviously, he achieved many things to rise to the rank of Air Marshal. So I'm not going through the formal resume, which would run into many pages. But I like to highlight the 4 important assignments which he held during those years. First was as a group captain, he commanded the prestigious 25 Squadron, which at that time was operating the biggest and the heaviest aircraft, IL-76, which was the lifeline to Leh and Ladakh. After that, in the next rank as the Air Commodore, he commanded Air Force Station Yelahanka, the largest helicopter and transport training base. After that, in the next rank, he was designated to be the commandant of Air Force Academy, probably the largest training institute in Asia, which is training all the pilots, the helicopter, transport, and the fighter pilots, the officers of the other branches, and also initial training of the technical officers. And after all these, ultimately, the only chair which was available to him was as Air Officer Commanding in Chief of Training Command. During all these years of 40 years of service, his services were recognized and he was honored by the President of India on 3 occasions. First, he's got VSM, Visis Seva Medal, then Ati Visis Seva Medal, AVSM, and finally, the Param Visis Seva Medal. Now, in all these years that I've known Kuki, that is what he has been in Air Force known as. Well, one thing, he has lived up to his name. And let me now tell you, when he's Air Marshal D. Kukreja, he's Dheeraj Kukreja, and Dheeraj stands for patience, which he has got tons. And if his wife Nirja says Kuki has got patience, I think whatever lady says, we got to appreciate it. But I know in Air Force, he was patient both with his subordinates and more so at times his seniors. I like to quote an anecdote. Many years back, about 18 years back, when my wife was alive and kicking, one night we landed up at their residence in Palam. So he looked at my wife and said, Kanta, I know what is Sabi's poison. What would you have? She said, Kuch nahi. Cookie again asked, you have got many choices, what you would like to have? She said, Kuch nahi. So he again third time asked, are you sure you will have kuch nahi? She said, yes. So Cookie said, okay, as you wish. He goes inside, comes back with a 1 liter bottle of a Scotch whiskey labeled kuch nahi. I tell you, my wife didn't know which way to look. That was the only time, first and last time in her life, that she had a sip. Well, from this, I get back to his professional career. After retirement, 2012, he has not been sitting idle. He's taken to writing. Unlike me, he believes in quality. His articles are well sought after. In fact, he has been commissioned to write articles on defense perspective, strategic planning. And not only that, he's an almost regular speaker on televisions. He doesn't participate in debates, but he takes part in specialized one-person views. Well, with so much, I think everybody is keen to listen to him. So, Cookie, I won't say the stage is yours because we got no stage, but audience is yours. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Air Marshal Dheeraj Kopreja, Param Visist Seva Medal, Ati Visist Seva Medal, former Air Officer Commanding in Chief Training Command, Indian Air Force. Over to you, Cookie.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabi, for the generous introduction. Greetings and good wishes to all Rotarians sitting in the cozy comfort of and safely in their homes on the occasion of the many festivals that fall today and tomorrow. Lodi, that is today, and tomorrow starting with Makar Sankranti, Pongal, Sugi, Bihu, and a host of others. Now, why am I wishing you like so? Because this is the Air Force way. In the Air Force, we greet anyone and everyone, whether you belong to that community or not. We join each other in celebrating festivals. When Sabi told me that I have to talk on vocational, how to choose Air Force as a vocation, I was a little foxed. Now, how do I start? Because none of you in the audience are going to join the Air Force now. So, for your grandchildren maybe, and as the members of the Rotary Club, giving advice to your Rotary schools, the students, if they can benefit from this, it would be very nice. Vocation, profession, career. All three of them have very similar meanings. I checked it up in the dictionary today. Didn't Google it. I am that old time. I have the old Oxford dictionary in my study room where I'm sitting now. But all of them have got a very subtle difference. I would say one leads to another. That is vocation, then leads to profession, then to career. Because a vocation is when you have a calling to join a particular line. When you have a calling, an urge, or a motivation, then it becomes, you join that line, it becomes your profession, and finally you make a career out of it. So I joined the Air Force, as Sabi mentioned, way back. I decided to join in 1968 because I had the urge to join it after the 1965 war when I was in school. And there was also the urge to escape studies from school. Little did I know that for the rest of my life in the Air Force, I would be pouring through books, and even after retirement, I'm still doing the same. but I made it my profession the Air Force as a profession. That in the Air Force, I became a pilot. And as Sabi mentioned, I was first a fighter pilot. And then due to medical reasons, I changed over to the transport fleet and finally retired from the transport fleet. So pilot can be anywhere. It need not be in the Air Force. You have a profession of a pilot who fly you up and down in the skies these days, even these days. And they fly any type of aircraft, not necessarily the military aircraft. But I made the Air Force aircraft and Air Force pilots as an Air Force pilot my career then. How did I join the Air Force? Well, today there's a plethora of information available on Google and through the websites. I joined, the procedure was that, which is followed, which I must mention, which is followed even today with tweaks here and there, but even today it is followed that you go through an UPSC written examination, followed by a Services Selection Board, SSB. Then there is a merit list formed by the UPSC. And then I joined the NDA. 3 years of training, rigorous training in NDA. And after that, 1.5 years of flying training in the Air Force before I was commissioned. But like I mentioned, a lot has changed. And as I continue with my talk, you will make out as to how things have changed. I joined after, in my time when I joined, the minimum qualification was a class 10 pass. That time there was no 10+2 system. So it was 10+1 higher secondary. So the minimum was class 10 pass. And I could have joined after the higher secondary also, but the dates were clashing. Now, one has to be a minimum 10+2 and 10+2 in science subjects. Why science subjects, where physics and maths are mandatory, is because as he goes through the training and he gets on to flying, he is going to fly very high-tech machines. So 10+2 science subjects gets into NDA. In the NDA, in my time, it was what we called, after 3 years, I got a certificate saying that I am NDA pass, which is equivalent to intermediate pass. That was not even first year graduation. It was intermediate. But today, an NDA cadet, when he passes out, he gets either a BSc degree or a BTech degree. So he has, and this change has come up, or this change also has come up just a few years ago. Earlier it was BA stroke BSc, and now it is, like I mentioned, BSc stroke BTech. How to get into the NDA? Otherwise, for the UPSC, the exams, the advertisement schedule is January and June. Advertisements are published in all leading newspapers and in employment news and what have you by the UPSC. It is open for men and women. As all of you must be aware, the Supreme Court has pushed the services of allowing women entry into NDA also.
No, it doesn't matter. In my
Somebody's microphone is on. Could you switch it off, please?
it's a stability.
Somebody's microphone is on. Could you switch it off, please?
What's now? What mean important?
Right. Continuing. Age limits. I celebrated my 16th birthday as a first-timer on punishment routine in NDA. And today, the minimum age is 16 and a half, maximum going up to 19 and a half at the time of entry. All this information in great detail is available on the Air Force website, iaf.nic.in. Also available on upsc.gov.in. Now, the entry through NDA in my time was only for the flying branch. In fact, that continued for a long time. Today, the entry through NDA is open for the flying branch, ground duty technical, because he's getting a BTech tech degree from there. So he's getting ground duty technical and ground duty non-tech, wherein he need not be a what do you call a BTech. He may be a BSc also. All cadets of the flying branch and the ground duty technical would be offered BTech in NDA. And cadets of ground duty non-tech are offered a BSc degree from NDA. Once he gets into the Air Force for flying training after passing out 3 years, there are direct entries also, where a graduate from a known college / university or a postgraduate can also join. This is for the flying branch. I'm just talking about the flying branch. Flying branch through the Air Force Academy, age 20 to 24 years, unmarried. And like you have the UPSC exam for NDA, entry and NDA entrance examination. Similarly, there is the Combined Defense Services examination called the CSE examination. And the advertisement scheduled by the UPSC is in November, August. And the minimum educational qualifications are physics and maths are required. Then there is a third mode of entry, which was not there again in our time. Special entry, it's called, for ex-NCC cadets who have held a C certificate. Also, if an individual has possesses a CPL, a commercial pilot's license, he or she can also join the Air Force. Age 20 to 24 years, and for a CPL holder, it is 26 years. Marital status 20 to 24 is unmarried, but a CPL holder, since he's allowed the upper age limit of 26, but if he's more than 25, then he's permitted to be married. This special entry mode is purely by the Air Force. The UPSC is not involved in this. And so the Air Force puts out the advertisements in June and December. Similarly, there are other modes of entry, which is known as the Air Force Common Admission Test. Short form is AFCAT. This is for permanent commission as well as short service, and with similar qualifications that I had mentioned so far. Now, the Air Force is not just flying. I always mention, or during my service career, I had always asked my junior colleagues as to what do you think the mission of the Air Force is, or what is the primary task of, when I say Air Force, in a station, the group that we are supporting flying, what is our primary mission? And everyone says, serve the nation, to guard the skies and what have you. I said that is the overall mission of the Indian Air Force. But in a station, I always took it that our job is to launch an aircraft safely and to recover it safely. Whatever the pilot does in the air is what his training tells him to do. That is what it is. So to launch an aircraft safely and to recover an aircraft safely, we have lots of other branches, both technical and non-technical. So first, the non-technical, you have the administrative branch, the logistics branch, the accounts branch, and education branch, the meteorology branch. Each of them has different educational qualifications for entry. They can come directly to the Air Force Academy, or they can come via NDA, which has been changed in the last few years. And all of them offer permanent commission as well as short service commission. And all of them are open to boys and girls alike. So graduates or postgraduates in any discipline, then you have a minimum grading of 60% or 50%, depending on which branch that you are going in for. Meteorology is something interesting. Meteorology takes postgraduate in any science stream: maths, statistics, geography, computer applications, environmental science, applied physics, oceanography, agricultural meteorology, ecology and environment, geophysics, and environmental biology. Now that's a long, long list and a very wide canvas to choose from. Then you have the technical branches, like SABI is from the technical branch, or it is also in the Air Force, it is known as the Aeronautical Engineering branch. This has two sub-branches. One is the Aeronautical Engineering AE Mechanical, so AEM, or AEL, L standing for electronics. Selection for all is through the AFCAT, and then for the AE branch, for the engineers, is the EKT, the Engineering Knowledge Test for the AE branches. And depending on what his choice is, what his subjects were in graduation, accordingly he or she can apply for mechanical or electronics. Now, one thing that has to be remembered, that in the Indian Air Force, as unlike the Indian Army or the Navy, it is the officer cadre. It is the officer cadre which does the fighting. The fighter pilots that go into combat. The helicopters and the transports also go into combat, but in a slightly different environment and a slightly safer environment. Not the helicopters. Attack helicopters also go into active combat, but the transport, not so much. They are not involved into active combat. So that has to be remembered, that it is the officer of the flying branch, unlike the Army and the Navy. Because Navy, you have the team in a ship with the sailors and the officers combined doing the fighting. Whereas in the Army, it is one officer and followed by many men. But here, when the fighter pilot goes up into the skies, it is he and he alone. On these days, okay, you have a twin-seater cockpit, so you have two people going up in the air to fight the battle. So as an officer, what is expected out of him? As an officer, as a warrior, as in the Air Force, the officer is tasked with upholding the Constitution of India and protecting India's freedom. Responsibility is enormous. But it is not only about work, it is also about living well. The Air Force ensures, or actually it is higher up, the Air Force has put it up to the government and the government has agreed. What I was saying was, I was trying to put across was that the Air Force ensures that it is not all work. There is time for enjoyment. There is time for your family. There is time for, going around and meeting people, socializing. And over the years, I still remember, Sabi would remember also, my first paycheck, basic pay was 250 rupees. I got a little more than Sabi because I was getting flying pay. That was a 75 or 100 rupees, if I remember correctly. Today, a cadet, in the last 1 year of his training, gets 56,000 rupees as a stipend, which is also the starting pay when he gets commissioned. On commissioning, he gets into the pay scale of 56,000 to 1,10,000. And plus there are other allowances. And there is for the people who are flying, there is the flying allowance. Then for the AE branch, there is also the technical allowance, which was not there. Sabi, I don't think, has got any technical allowance. There is what you call, these allowances make your package of about anything between 6 to 7 lakhs per annum. And that is your cost to company, as most of you would understand that. Now, why am I mentioning this? Again, going back, when my son got his first paycheck, his package was, annual package was 37 lakhs or something like that, some exorbitant figure. And I told him, I said, son, I make that in about 5 or 7 years. Dad, he told me, he says, Dad, you get your CTC. Your CTC is much more than mine. Now, I didn't know what CTC was, but then he explained to me cost to company. And how did he calculate all that? Because we get a lot of allowances. And when I say we, it is not just the Air Force. There are allowances for all the 3 services for different specializations. There is, and then plus you get free medical, you get subsidized rental accommodation, you get a house rent allowance if the accommodation is not available, you get free rations, you get, when you're married and you have children, you have a children education allowance. Then every station has a KV, that's a Kendriya Vidyalaya. Some large stations have even 2 of them. Then you also have Air Force schools apart from the KVs, and each one competing with the other to produce good students and produce good results. Every individual in the Air Force, every air warrior in the Air Force on getting commissioned, even as a cadet in cases of flying, plus the airmen also, is insured. Officers are insured for 75 lakhs. Then you have the facility through the Benevolent Association, through the group insurance scheme that we have, the facility of easy loans, house building loan, purchasing of, so you don't have to go to running to a bank to finance your purchases. So apart from that, the biggest thing is 60 days annual leave plus 20 days casual leave plus 2 days restricted holidays, like 14th, 13th and 14th of January are marked in blue on the Air Force and Army calendars, indicating that they are restricted holidays. Then there is leave travel concessions. You have an officers institute, messes, and rail concessions. You have a very secured camp life. That is very important, I think, in these days. Like when I retired and I came into Civil Street, I felt like a stranger outside. It was very difficult for me to adjust after 40 years of leading a very secure life and it was there even for my children. When they finished their schooling and they went out to college outside the campus, they used to feel different. When we exchanged notes with my son and my daughter, they always said that it's not like within the Air Force, not like within the camp. It's something different outside. And there are plenty of recreational and sports facilities and adventure sports. People who are officers and airmen who are interested in adventure sports, from mountaineering to hang gliding to paragliding to skydiving, you name it, and they can volunteer. After proper training, they can go it from their parent branch, they are spared and they go in. People who want to study after a certain seniority get 2 years study leave with full pay. So that also is a benefit. So, it's like I said, it's not all work, but there's plenty of avenues open for keeping your mind at rest from the stresses and strains of the job and carrying on like this. Now, I think I have spoken enough. If there are anybody who wants to ask me any clarifications and questions, let me see if I can answer them, because my information may be a little outdated. I have tried to update it through going through the latest on the websites. But if there is anybody who wants to still ask me any questions or clarifications, I'll be glad to take them on.
I think I see one hand up. I think that's Manjunath. Yes, Manjunath, please go ahead and ask your question.
Right. Air Marshal, good evening. Manjunath here. I just wanted to share something at the end of it. I probably would like to ask you a question. I was recommended for selection to the Air Force as a flying officer. I have the letter in my hand. I just want to share that it is the aeronautical engineering mechanical trade. Immediately after my engineering, I went into the selection process at AFSB Mysore. Right, that was a 5-day selection process, and then subsequently, the medicals were conducted at Command Center, Bangalore, and there was another round of medical that was done at AFIMS, if I remember it right, Old Airport Road.
IAM, Institute of Aviation Medicine, Aerospace Medicine.
Aerospace Medicine. That's in the Old Airport site.
Yeah.
So this letter is issued to me in 17 March 1999. I was supposed to join 28 SSC, 28 Short Service Commission Mechanical Trade in July 1999. And the program was to be, the training was supposed to be at AFA Hyderabad, right? So for some reasons, I don't know, I really don't know the reasons actually, but decided to become a civilian. So it's 2 decades old thing. I just want to ask you, being a civilian and being in the services, what did I miss in the last 20 years, 2 decades?
What did you miss?
Yeah.
You missed a lot.
All the awards.
like I said, the Air Force grows on you.
Right.
Okay, it is not just a vocation, like I said in the beginning, a profession or a career. It grows on you. It grows a lifestyle into you, on you, and then you get into the culture of the Air Force.
Right.
And it becomes so imbibed into your system that it's very difficult to get out of it. It's very difficult to get out of it. Well, I don't have any hair to show you, but even if I had hair to show you, I would not have had, whatever little I've got, if we can make it out, my sideburns are still as per Air Force specifications.
Okay.
You know, it is so much, I'll tell you, the culture gets so much imbibed into you that I cannot leave home, even when I go for golf in summers at 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning. I shave and go out. I don't go out unshaven, because that is what from my 1968, from NDA onwards, that I have been doing. So everything becomes second nature. Everything becomes second nature. When I'm sitting in my study, I know exactly what is placed where. You know, so it's a lifestyle and a culture that you have missed out.
Right. No, I know the process was tough. I very proudly remember that it was just number 10 that I wore. 110 people, 4 got lucky.
No, you would have done well, because you see, you got selected first out of so many people, the written examination, then through the selection process, 5 days, they grill you. Physical, psychological tests, everything, they grill you. And then is the medical, of course.
Right.
Can we go to Ravi Kumar now? Ravi Kumar GK? Go ahead.
Air Marshal, can you throw some light on what the fuss about OROP was?
OROP, one rank, one pension.
Is it post-retirement or is it while in service?
No, you see, pension is always after retirement. So one rank, one pension.
Okay, it's a pension. Okay, not one pay. Okay.
No, it's one rank, one pension. How did it come about? Because you see, over a period of time, the last pay commission was the 7th pay commission. When I have seen from the 3rd onwards, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, like that. Now, every time some pay scales increased, there were some anomalies. What happened is, now in between, while the pay scales were being implemented and people were getting paid as per the new pay scales, some people retired. Now they started getting their pension as per the old pay scales. Let me talk about a rank structure, which most of you would be familiar with, is if a colonel retired after X number of years of service, he got his pension, if he got his pension after the old pay scale. Now what happens is, the new pay scale had to be implemented, but he's retired before that. Now another colonel retires with the new pay scale. So this colonel is getting less pension, that colonel is getting more pension. So that is what it is, one rank, one pension. So irrespective of when you have retired, your pension also should keep getting upgraded as per the new pay scales.
And to adjust for inflation.
Yeah, Venkat, please go ahead.
What is this? Sorry, go
ahead. Sorry, Venkat. Sorry.
What is the level of pension from the last drawn pay as a percentage? Because I know my father worked in a company, and in the 1990s, he was getting a pittance. He was general manager of Dunlop, and he was getting some 1,500 or 1,700 rupees, which was just not enough. But that is the way it was. And they didn't have all these recourse to OROP and all that, you know.
So OROP is basically for the armed forces only that it has come up.
Okay.
And what percentage? It is 50% of your last basic pay.
Oh.
Not all the allowances.
Yeah.
No allowances are counted. The last basic pay
50%.
You 50% is your pension.
But you can still use your canteen and those.
Yes, we have a what is known as the government has for its employees, civilian employees, the CGHS, Central Government Health Scheme. The services, armed forces have what is known as ECHS. ECHS is ex-servicemen's contributory health scheme. So depending on which rank you retired in, you contribute some amount into the corpus of the ECHS before prior to retirement, and thereafter you can go on to and get your medicals done or anywhere.
But what I've seen is most most service people, soon as they retire, they get decent jobs also nowadays.
Okay.
Well, that depends upon choice and your qualification.
Yeah.
But the mostly you find short service commission officers get better jobs because they go out at a younger age. But again, when I say in a rank structure, if a colonel retires after that many years, he's touching 40, 48 or touching 50. So no company really wants to have an old timer into their company. He may be qualified, but at that age, they want the output.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks, Marshall. Now,
Good evening,
before I go to
Marshall.
Venkat, just 1 minute, I want all our young guests, all the interactors who are here, if you have anything to ask after Venkat, please do ask anything you have on your mind. Yeah, Venkat, go ahead.
Good evening, Air Marshal. We're very privileged to have you with us. I had a couple of questions. One, we heard the, why working for the Air Force, from a vocation makes sense for anybody. So you allayed all the doubts about with the kind of lifestyle, the kind of lives they could lead. From an Air Force perspective itself, Indian Air Force, how do we stack up against our, closest neighbors like a Pakistan and a China? And if we ever have a threat from both sides, are we equipped to handle it? Is our defense capable of handling such a threat? So I just wanted your view, whatever you could share on that.
Well, let me just put it straightforward that we are very well equipped and very well motivated to take on one or both together. Let me put it that way. Okay. And all of you must be aware that with the latest induction of the Rafale fighters and the new helicopters that we've got, heavy lift helicopters, the Chinook, and the attack helicopters, the Apache, these are really excellent machines. And before that, the transport aircraft that we had got, the C-130 and the C-17 aircraft, they have given us tremendous boost in our airlift capability, these transport aircraft. And the Rafale as well as the helicopters, again, have given us, if the transports aircraft have given us the strategic airlift capability, the Chinook gives us tactical airlift capability. That means within the theater, intra-theater, not inter-theater, intra-theater. And and similarly, the Apache is known as a tank killer with the Americans. So it's actually a tank which gets airborne. The Apache is a tank which gets airborne with all types of armament, which are normally found on fighter aircraft, but this helicopter has everything: guns, rockets, missiles, anything. So, then the man behind the machine. Yes, training wise, I will not be able to comment on what the Pakistan side or China is their training, what are their training patterns. I'm not too familiar with their training patterns, but I think our training, because we participate in a lot of international exercises, inter-Air Force exercises. And the Americans, when we first participated in what is the Americans' top-notch exercise called the Red Flag exercise, the Americans themselves were surprised at the quality of our pilots. They said, we never expected Indian Air Force pilots to be so capable. And we have exercises with anyone and everyone. In fact, countries are asking us, and we have to say no, because after all, you see, when you have regular exercises, our own training also suffers then, because our machines are used extensively in an exercise. So their hours are used up, and the machines then have to go in for routine servicings and inspections, which come up much faster than they would come up if they were flying within India for our routine training. So we have to say no at times, that no, our exercise calendar is full. Sorry, we cannot take you on this year. We'll take you on next year. There are countries which had to be refused. But whether they are Southeast Asian countries, Australia, Middle East countries, UAE, and the UAE, or the other side, Egypt, going further westwards, Egypt, France, Italy, and then of course America. These air forces are very keen to have exercises with the Indian Air Force, because they know that we have our training patterns, training set up in such a way, and their assessment is that you can take on Pakistan or China singly or both together.
Thank you, Air Marshal. It makes us even more proud, to understand that we have one of the best air defense units in the world.
Our skies are safe thanks to the Indian Air Force.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Venkat. Any of our young friends here, the interactors, you have anything to ask? I see a few of them. Divyashri, Yashwant, anybody? Okay, I think since I'm not having any more questions, so one question I have for you. Since we are discussing about Air Force as a vocation, and while we have spoken about educated vocation, if I may call, going on to bachelor's, NDA, officers cadre, etc. Rotary as an NGO, we also work for underprivileged, and we do have vocational trainings. So is there any scope for an NGO, to give underprivileged children who may not have completed class 12, some kind of a training and have lateral entry into non-specialized jobs in Air Force or other defense institutions? Yes,
They are available. I did not cover that because the talk would have gone on till tomorrow morning. We have the Air Warriors. That is I'm also an Air Warrior, by the way. All personnel who wear uniforms are known as Air Warriors, whether he is an officer or he is a person below officer rank. So the PBOR that we call them, the personnel below officer rank, their selection process is different. Their educational qualifications requirement as per the trade that they want to go. They also have technical trades. They have non-technical trades. They even somebody who's got a flair for music can go join in as a musician, because we have an Air Force band. Sitting in Bangalore in Jalahali, we have the Air Force Orchestra, Symphony Orchestra also. So you have all types. Then you have, then there are also non-combatants enrolled. They are the lowermost strata in the hierarchy, and they are non-combatants. Like a Laskar, cook, for washing utensils. He's known as a washer-up. Laskar is basically, he works on the tarmac, pulling trolleys and helping out the men pulling heavy loads to the aircraft or something like that. Or as an office orderly, if he's there, in the offices, if he's slightly educated, if he can read and write a little bit, then he can be used in the office to take files from one office to another, that sort of a thing. Then you have watchmen, chowkidars, sweepers. All these are, you have a variety of trades for the non-combatants also. So their thing is a little different, and in fact, not little different, quite different. Bangalore is the place, Jalali Jalali is the place where the training is done. And similarly, there are other places also, Belgaum also, there are places, some training is done for them. So you'll be able to get that on the website.
We'll do that, sir.
And Sabi will be able to guide you also as to what exactly and where to look for their enrollment.
Right. Thank you. I think now I would like Dash to polish off today's meeting with his vote of thanks. Rotarian Ashok. Sorry, Ashok, before I go, I see Arvind's fingers going up. Yeah, Arvind, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't notice that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Amir. Air Marshal Kukreja, it was very nice to listen to you. Could you just throw some light on the medical profession of Air Force? How does one get into the AFMC, Pune or something like that? Some of the people who want to know. And if they want to pursue a medical profession, things like that.
I didn't cover this aspect at all for the simple reason because they are different. Their entry system is totally different.
Okay.
They have an entrance exam just like you have the medical exam, the entrance exam for all the medical colleges. Similarly, the AFMC has an entrance exam for the medical AFMC, Air Force Medical, Armed Forces Medical College. It is AF, but it is Armed Forces Medical College, which is located in Pune. And they do the MBBS course there, and they can opt for, now I'm not too familiar, but they can, as to at what stage they can opt for, but either of the three services. And as they go higher up in service, then depending on the vacancy, they can change services also. When you become a major general or a lieutenant general, I had a very dear friend who we lost to COVID last year. He sent me his picture. He was my neighbor in my younger days. And in blue uniform, all through, I saw him. Then he was with me in the Air Force Academy. And one fine day, he sends me his picture in the Army uniform as a Lieutenant General. Then he retired. He was all through as the Air Force. He became a Lieutenant General and he retired as a Vice Admiral. So he put on the whites. So unfortunately, we lost him due to COVID. But he reached the pinnacle of his career, and after a certain stage, you can switch uniforms. But you have from all the three services. From the choice is at AFMC itself.
Yeah, I also wanted to know, like in a civilian's life, when the people go through the competitive exams for the entrance in medical colleges, even after they get the admissions, sometimes the fees that they have to pay are exorbitant, which are not affordable. In AFMC, if they get selected, would there be any such thing, or are the fees?
there is no capitation fees in the
No
armed
capital,
forces.
but the tuition fee, etc.
No, tuition fees will be there. I'm not sure as to how much it is, because I've never bothered to find out from them, but I'm quite sure if you want more information, the ideal place for you to go and find out is from the command hospital sitting in Bangalore.
Okay.
The doctors there will be only too glad to tell you, because I would say 90% of them would be alumni of the AFMC.
Thank you very much.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. Ashok, go ahead. You're muted. You're muted, Ashok. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Acting President Samir. Air Marshal Dheeraj Kukreja Saab, what a fantastic session it's been today. Couple of days ago, when Rotarian Venkat reached out to me and said, will you offer the vote of thanks? I readily accepted, because I knew so little about Air Force as a vocation that I said, at least it gives me a chance to learn. And you did not disappoint, sir. You know, when that photo was circulated internally about this meeting, the first image I had of you was you look Jinnah-like. but in any way, one could look at.
If I may interrupt,
Yes,
there are a lot of people who have told me that with this Frenchie, I look like Sean Connery.
That's even better, sir. Far better comparison. I didn't have the benefit of your current visage. So Mohammed Jinnah or anything, nothing like that. But I must say that with the kind of distinction you come with, sir, the Peacetime Distinguished Service Medals, all three of them, the number of years of experience that you've had, I'm so very glad that our Rotary Club found you through Sabi to address us today. Sabi mentioned that you are known for your patience. And we can very readily see that the amount of patience that you showed in painstakingly taking us through all this was really phenomenal. You know, today morning I was talking to my mother in Chennai. And so while we were signing off, she said, what is cooking? So I said, however, did you know that was his nickname? So Cookie, sir, it was nice to hear you take us through paces. It really opened our eyes to Air Force as a vocation. To be very honest, for instance, we always think of flying when we think of Air Force. I don't think many of us look at all the other branches that you talked about. And of course, while it's a very demanding job, protecting the skies, as you call it, it's delightful to note that it's not just all work, that there is life that Air Force people have. You know, I, for one, never knew that it is such a well-paying profession, cost to co of 6 lakhs plus. Coming from an MBA background, I always thought marketing was the high-flying one, but you showed us today that Air Force is an equally high-flying profession, even more so, more noble. P.G. Odo says in one of his books that half the world doesn't know how the other 3/4 lives. And today, when we heard you, I realized how little I knew about the defense services. Thank you for telling us all about the vocation, the profession, the life. It's been such a pleasure. The last thing I wanted to say, sir, when you talked about how you shave in the morning at 5:30 before you go for a round of golf. As a professional, I'm an executive coach, which means I try my hardest to get people to change the behaviors that are so set in them. And when I hear from a serviceman why it is important for you to have that shave before you go, because it's a way of life, it really got me thinking that maybe I need to look at this aspect of, do we really need to change all the behaviors that people seem to have? Thank you once again, sir, for a wonderful, wonderful talk, opening our eyes to this profession. And here is wishing you great luck from our Rotary Club, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Air Marshal Kukreja, for a wonderful chat. Thank you all for coming today evening on a festival day, for the wonderful presence here. Wishing you all a happy Shankranti, Pongal. I mean, I think Kukreja gave much more names than I can put out right now. But it's a harvest festival. Go enjoy your food. Enjoy your day. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.